Well, now that we have this Rails app up and going per our last video generated by Claude Code dangerously skipped permissions, let's deploy it. I've registered this insidertrades.directory domain name at Cloudflare, and I'm going to demonstrate deploying it to DigitalOcean and setting up Cloudflare via Kamal. While we're doing so, let's do some infrastructure as code. Historically, I would have used Terraform for that, but today I'm going to try demoing Open Tofu, which is a fork of Terraform that's a bit more license friendly these days. So first, I've just pre-installed via brute the tofu command on my CLI. I'm going to create an Open Tofu folder in my Rails project. And I'm just going to copy in a couple of files that I prepared earlier. I'll show them to you in a bit, and they'll also be in the show notes on the blog post. Now that those files are in there, I'm going to run tofu init inside this directory. It's going to look at these .tf files and determine what dependencies there are and pull in some Terraform providers and create a lock file. We now have a working tofu project in here. So I'm going to just quickly run this tofu plan command. That's going to tell me what this is going to do. So tofu is going to hop into DigitalOcean, which I've got over here. It's my DigitalOcean project. It's got nothing in it at the moment, no droplets, which are servers. And what's going to happen is Open Tofu is going to create a server in there for me. It's pretty cool. So I'm just going to run tofu apply and give it permission and watch what happens in here while that's going on. So I've just got a prompt saying Insider Trades web production was added to first project. That's super cool. And if I go and have a look at the droplets page, you'll see that there's this new droplet in here that wasn't there before. I'll just refresh this page, see if I can get the screen sizing right. Oh, it's being created. It's in the process of being created by this script. And hopefully soon, if I keep refreshing, yeah, it's been created just now. That's super awesome. So how did that happen? Well, here in DigitalOcean, there's an API section where you can set up a token, an API token. So I generated a token like this with no expiry, and I granted some custom scopes by trial and error. The ones that we needed were this SSH key, and we needed the firewall, and we needed the, what else do we need? Droplet and tag. Those were the trial and error permissions required in this token for Kamal. And what that enables with that token is if you put it on your command line as an environment variable, so I'll just show you a quick little sneak peek at that. What happened there? Failed to service. Failed to find. Oh, okay. Not found this IP address. No members. I found this is a little bit flaky. This bit here, I'll explain what it is in a sec. So just firstly, I've got this TF Digital Ocean token set up as an environment variable. Importantly, it's prefixed with TF var, uppercase. So now I'll show you this configuration for Open Tofu. When you have an Open Tofu or Terraform configuration with a variable like this, you can use it to access environment variables for credentials and sensitive things like passwords and whatnot. And this DigitalOcean token is being used by this script to connect to my DigitalOcean account and create this droplet this with one CPU, 512 mega RAM, and 10 gigabytes of hard drive. And the bit that failed just a moment ago, and it's having another crack at right now, was this bit here. So after the DigitalOcean droplet is created, this script is saying, hey, let's install Docker, because Kamal is going to need Docker to be able to deploy to this DigitalOcean server. So fingers crossed that goes okay. I'll show you another thing in the meantime. Unlike Terraform, Open Tofu has this pretty cool way of encrypting its state. It's terraform.tfstate file. You can see this encrypted data here. If you provide it an encrypted passphrase, again, as an environment variable. So I've got an environment variable configured for that. And what that'll mean is that I'll be able to check this Terraform or OpenTofu state straight into GitHub, and people can look at it and no one will be able to access my credentials because it'll be encrypted. So that's pretty cool. And yeah, what else is worth mentioning? Oh yeah, this DigitalOcean droplet that we're creating at the moment is going to run about $5 US per month to host this Rails app, which is a whole lot cheaper than what I've been paying Heroku lately. And I guess that was a big premise for why the 37 Signals crew created Kamal in the first place, to save on costs for hosting costs. So we're still in the process of recreating this DigitalOcean droplet. So it did fail that first time round, and I've run the command again, and it looks like it's gotten further along this time. I guess the internet of things, when you apt install things, can be a bit flaky. Ah, cool. Yeah, if the internet connections don't work, but it looks like we have successfully created our DigitalOcean droplet with Docker on it. We've got an IP address here, so that's this output here. And we've also generated an SSH private key to access the server, which isn't shown over here, but is going to be important in a second. So let's make use of that. So what we'll do is we will SSH into the server to make sure it works. How are we going to do that? So firstly, using Tofu, we can output these variables in this fashion. So this is the IP address of the DigitalOcean server. I'm going to output the SSH key into my SSH directory, like so. Give it the right permissions. And then I'm going to make sure that's usable. So I'll create an SSH config file, like so. And here's some copy and paste that I prepared earlier. Here's the IP address that I want to associate with this SSH key that I've just created. I'll chmod that file as well. Now, fingers crossed, we should be able to SSH into this server, which Kamal's going to need to do. Hey, we're in. That's super cool. So you can see earlier on we created a root user, this DigitalOcean thing, and here we are. We're into the server. That's really awesome. That's terrific. Hooray. So I'm going to probably commit what we've got so far. It's a good start. Got to commit. Git commit. So what have we done? We've provisioned DigitalOcean as a droplet with Open Tofu. Hooray. Okay, so what's next? In order to get this website live, as mentioned earlier, I registered this domain name on Cloudflare, insidertrades.directory. When I did so, it gave me a domain. So if I hop into my account, I've got two domains in here, and it registered this one. But there's nothing in here. There's no DNS records or anything like that. Rate limited. Oh, please wait and consider. Okay. So there's nothing in here, no DNS records at the moment. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to demonstrate provisioning some DNS records, again, with infrastructure as code. So if I show you this Cloudflare terraform code that I've got, I'll just copy over the IP address of this newly minted server. What I'm going to do is I'm going to demonstrate Cloudflare. Again, I've got an environment variable for this Cloudflare API token, which, by the way, had read-write privileges. And I'm going to create this record in there. So if I run tofu apply, dependency. Oh, yep. So I've added Cloudflare into this Open Tofu project. So I need to tofu init again. That'll let it know that we want the HashiCorp Cloudflare modules to use in here. If we try again, yes, please, let's add this DNS record. Oh, right, yes, of course. So because this Cloudflare configuration specifies a zone, which I set up earlier to point to this zone here up in the address, what I actually need to do is I can't recreate this because it already exists here in Cloudflare because I registered the domain and it was auto-created. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to import this little bit of state here into the Terraform state or the Open Tofu state of this project, and that will allow me then to use it to create this DNS record. Sounds tricky? Well, I'll just show you how that works. So we'll go tofu, import, we'll get this, and then we'll go dot this, and we need to give it an ID. So let's just find that ID. If we go to the overview of this zone, there's a zone ID here. This is for API usage. And I'm going to give that to Open Tofu. Hooray! It was successfully imported. So I'm going to try the tofu apply again. So, yep, go for your life. Hooray! It seems to think it's created a DNS record. Let's see if that's true. DNS. And what do you know, Bob's your uncle? There's a DNS record, and it's pointing it to this IP address that I've specified here, which is that brand new minted IP address that we created earlier over here in Digital Ocean. That's really cool. So we've now configured Cloudflare with DNS to point to Digital Ocean. I think we're ready for another commit. Just commit that. We've provisioned Cloudflare DNS with OpenTofu to point to call it again, Digital Ocean. Hope that commit message isn't too long. There we go. Right. All right. So what's next? I guess what's next is we want to we want to pull it all together by deploying with Kamal to DigitalOcean. We want to deploy our Rails app to Kamal with DigitalOcean. So earlier on, I actually ran a command that looked like this: bin Rails credentials edit environment production. And what that did for me was it created a credentials file in the config. Oh wait, I'll just hop up. We don't need Open Tofu anymore. So in the config credentials directory, it created a production key, which I'm not going to show you, and an encoded production key, which gets committed to GitHub. So I do have a gitignored file where the key is ignored, but the encoded version of the key will get committed. And what we're going to do is we're going to find the Kamal secrets file in this Rails app that was just created by default. By default, it seems to think the Rails master key is in config/master key, but that's not where Rails put it. Rails actually put it in credentials slash, I guess, production.key. That's where it lives, right there. Cool. And the next thing that we want to do is we want to adjust our configuration for Kamal to know what to do, where to find everything, where to go. So another thing that got set up earlier, and this will all be in the show notes, was I created an account on docker.com, and the account is named insidertrades.directory. This is important because it's used twice in this Kamal deploy file. Once for the username of your registry, which in this case is docker.com, and then over here, it's going to store details about your deployments in this docker.com registry, and your username is required. The next thing that I'm going to edit is I'm going to take that IP address of this new server and specify that that is where the server is going to get deployed to. That's pretty important. And what's the next thing that we'll do? Let's have a look through. Oh, yep, we'll update the host. Cursor seems to know what I want to do. We're going to update the host, the domain name for the site to insidertrades.directory. That's my domain name that I showed you earlier in Cloudflare. And I guess if we're feeling lucky, that should be just about it. Just quickly, I'll show you as well that there is a Kamal registry password. And so what that's all about is over here in docker.com, I created a token for Kamal to be able to talk to docker.com. So when I generated the token, I gave it read and write and delete privilege. And I've stored that token again in an environment variable. It looks like this. So I'll just show you the start of it. DCKR at blah blah blah. And that environment variable will be used by this Kamal script to deploy. All right, if we're lucky, we should be able to run Kamal deploy now and cross our fingers and see what happens. So I guess what Kamal's doing at the moment is it's taking my code from this local Rails project, and it's writing it, it's deploying it via Docker to that DigitalOcean server. So, oh, there we go. That's up. That's really cool. So Firefox seems to have finally resolved it. It resolved the up route. What about the root route? Hey, hurrah, there it is. We're live. I think there's a lot of caching to break right now. A great success.